Restomod is perhaps the ultimate car enthusiast's indulgence, isn't it? Take the greatest cars ever made and enhance them, exaggerate them, reimagine them to your heart's content. Budgets be damned. People like Singer, Alfaholics, and others have built entire businesses around taking cars and making them altogether more potent or modern. But who's done it best? Well, these are the ones that we love the most. And please remember to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more from Goodwood Road and Racing. Singer's reimagined Porsche 911s have had us salivating for over a decade now. Where once the Porsche 964 wasn't atop many enthusiasts' wish lists, a quick change by some clever people at Singer and bang, it was the best thing since the 911. This reimagination has become, to those who have the cash and patience for a glacial waiting list, like water to a man stuck in the desert. And then, along came the DLS, and suddenly all the previous reimaginations, well, they looked a bit tame, didn't they? A 500 horsepower air-cooled engine developed by Williams, yes, that Williams, a completely reworked all-carbon body, bespoke race-style suspension similar to that found on the current GT3. When it debuted at the Festival of Speed presented by MasterCard, it was a recipe for uncontrolled audience salivation. Singer, it's just the kings of the Restomod, surely. But then, maybe this lot can claim that crown. It's hard to believe these days, but Eagle has been fiddling with Jaguars longer than Singer has existed. Henry Pearman actually founded Eagle way back in 1984, but the work you know most didn't begin until the 2000s. That was when Eagle decided it was time to unleash the E-Type from its 1960s shackles and create its ultimate version. We are, of course, talking about the Speedster, a 2011 work of genius that shocked the world and somehow managed not to stupendously anger Jaguar. The remit was simple. One E-Type owner, a doctor, simply told Eagle, "I want something a bit special." Once Pearman's team was finished, what he had was an open-topped, chop-screen 4.7 litre E-Type rocket ship, retrimmed, modernised, and altogether exaggerated in every conceivable direction. It's peak E-Type erotica, and so are the low-drag, lightweight, and the rest of the cars that Eagle has knocked together since. The Alfa Romeo GTA might be the absolute peak of saloon car performance meets Italian design. But while that design and incredible performance are purely 60s Italian, unfortunately, so is the build quality and reliability. But if you have a healthy enough budget, the problems can all be solved with a few months in the hands of Alfaholics. Then you'll find your GTA returned with an extra letter on the end and a few more new bits. This screaming Giulia is beyond the wildest dreams of even Giuseppe Busso. The GTA-R features lightweight carbon fibre body panels over seam-welded steel while remaining true to Bertone's original form. 240 horsepower and a bit more at a screaming 7,000 RPM comes from that tricked-out engine, and the whole thing in general gets the attention to detail that only the strongest walleted can consider. What Mechatronik doesn't know about Mercedes isn't really worth being written down. They are the masters of Mercedes selling, buying and tinkering. While they spend most of their time stocking and selling old Benzes, there is another side to the company these days. One that will take a W113 SL, then stick a 6.2 litre V8 under the bonnet. But now, these German madmen have got their hands on the later R107 SL to, well, turn it into a monster. The best way to describe it is probably to say this is a Black Series model for the 1970s and 1980s. We're not sure yet what will lie underneath this barely believable bodywork, but we reckon a V8. And even though it hasn't been seen in full, just that camouflaged exterior is enough to convince us this is one for the ages. Of all the cars you expect to get the Restomod treatment, the stylish and rare but slightly underloved Volvo P1800 is probably quite low on the list. But receive the treatment it has from former Volvo racing team Cyan. This one is a little more subtle than the Mechatronik SL. The exterior looks pretty standard, but underneath, the 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo from Volvo's S60 touring car efforts has been crowbarred in. There's a bespoke 5-speed manual gearbox, bespoke independent rear suspension, a limited slip diff, and widened track. It's all enough to turn the P1800 from sedate beauty into certified hot rod. A prove we most certainly do. That, we have to admit, is a mouthful of a name. Here, we'll prove that restomodding doesn't just have to be for elegant, curvaceous 60s sports cars. The kind of cars whose looks originally wrote checks that at the time their dynamics just could not quite cash. No. Sometimes you could take something a bit newer, a bit boxier, and altogether a bit more purposeful and just, well, modernize it. The Lancia Delta Futurista is an alloy-bodied, carbon-faced, money absolutely no object Delta, and it is absolutely stunning. With over 330 horsepower, it weighs just 1,250 kilograms and can only be had with 2 doors, quite unlike the original. It's the brainchild of Eugenio Amos, a man who says he longs for cars that still have personality, substance, and rawness. And we are more than happy for him to keep following that longing as long as he wants. Yes, it really doesn't matter when the car came out, someone can make a Restomod. We've had a Lancia, now here's a BMW from the same era. This E30 M3 is the BMW M3 enhanced and evolved by Redux. You know the drill by now. It's lighter, it's tighter, it's faster. So the 2.3-litre S14 engine is now 2.5 litres. It has a bespoke loom, motorsport crank, rods, pistons, and billet valve cover. There's a lightweight flywheel, limited slip diff, quick shifting, close ratio gearbox, and a whole lot more. Redux take a donor E30, strip it right back to the base shell, completely rebuild it, and trim to customer specifications. Once they're done, you've got a more subtle looking evolution of a legend than some on this list, but one with the kinks ironed out and muscles broadened. Sounds perfect. We'll finish on the more traditional Restomod, a classic of the mid-20th century turned into a hot rod by people who know what they're doing and really care. Thornley Kelham are specialists with old Lancias and a few other brands, so decided to use their years of maintaining these cars to build the ultimate one. The base is perhaps the most genteel of the base cars on this list. A beautiful but very soft-edged GT car, rather than a sports car. But once Thornley Kelham are done, it is anything but genteel. An unrestored Aurelia has its wings widened, the roofline is lowered by 3 inches, the gutters are removed, and much more. Under the bonnet goes a race-spec Lancia Flaminia V6, bored out to 2.8 litres and fuel injected. The suspension is re-specified, and the interior furnished like a smoking club, with Connolly aniline leather and Alcantara throughout. It is a gorgeous thing. These are our favourites from the world of restomodding. But which ones have we missed out? And more importantly, what would you like to see get the Restomod treatment? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to give this video a like.